Tehran does not sleep like other cities. It dozes with one eye open, a sprawling metropolis of concrete and smog where the weight of history presses down on every street corner. In the northern districts, where the air is thinner and the villas are hidden behind high stone walls, the silence is not peaceful. It is watchful. It was here, in the winter of 2012, that a woman known to the world as Elena Rostova stepped out of a black Peugeot and adjusted her silk headscarf. She checked her reflection in the darkened window, not to admire her beauty, which was striking, but to ensure that the mask was perfectly in place. But before we descend into the shadow world of Tehran's high command and the operation that would shake the foundations of Iranian intelligence, take a moment. If you want to uncover the operations that governments deny and the machinery of power that operates in the dark, hit that subscribe button. Turn on notifications. The history books are written by the victors, but the truth is often hidden in the classified files we are about to open. Join us as we expose the invisible war. Elena Rostova was not her real name. It was a legend, a carefully constructed fiction built layer by layer over 5 years. To the European art world, she was a sophisticated consultant specializing in the restoration of pre-Islamic Persian artifacts. To the wealthy collectors of Zurich and London, she was a genius with a scalpel and a brush. But to the archives in Tel Aviv, she was Agent Kestrel, a operative of the Mossad's Caesarea unit. She was a ghost, and she was about to walk into the lion's den. Her target was not a nuclear facility or a military base. It was a man. General Farhad Razier was the head of Directorate V, the counter-espionage wing of Vivac, Iran's Ministry of Intelligence. Razier was a phantom in his own right. He was the man who caught spies. He was the architect of the networks that hunted dissidents abroad. He was known within the intelligence community as the Grandmaster because he viewed espionage not as a war, but as a game of chess where every piece was expendable. Razier did not have weaknesses. He did not drink. He was faithful to his wife. He was incorruptible by money. He lived a life of ascetic discipline. But every man has a door if you know where to look. Razier's door was vanity. Specifically, intellectual vanity. He fancied himself a scholar, a guardian of Persia's ancient soul against the corruption of the modern world. He collected rare manuscripts, specifically from the Safavid era. Kestrel's mission was not to eliminate him. Elimination is messy. It creates martyrs and brings replacements who are often more radical. Her mission was far more dangerous. She had to compromise him. She had to enter his inner sanctum, his private office inside the secure compound, and plant a device that would turn the intelligence chief into an unwitting source for Israeli intelligence. As she walked toward the entrance of the private gallery in North Tehran, her heart rate remained a steady 60 beats per minute. She was carrying a leather portfolio containing high-resolution images of a 16th century manuscript that had surfaced in Vienna. It was the bait. The trap was set. Now, she just had to wait for the wolf to come to dinner. To understand the magnitude of the risk, one must understand the environment. Vivac is not an organization that tolerates failure. In 2012, the shadow war between Israel and Iran was at its boiling point. The Stuxnet virus had recently ravaged the centrifuges at Natanz. Scientists were disappearing from the streets of Tehran. The atmosphere was thick with paranoia. General Razier was the man tasked with plugging the leaks. He had purged his own ranks 3 times in 2 years. He saw Mossad agents in every shadow. Razier's office was located in a nondescript building in the administrative district, disguised as a logistics center for the Revolutionary Guard. But his private office, the place where he truly worked, was a fortress within a fortress. It was an analog room in a digital world. No cell phones were allowed. The walls were lined with copper mesh to block electronic signals. It was swept for bugs twice a day. It was widely considered one of the most secure rooms in the Middle East. This was the target. The plan for Operation Glass Horizon had been conceived 6 months earlier in a windowless room in Herzliya. The planners knew that Razier could not be approached directly. He was too guarded. But they knew he frequented a small exclusive circle of cultural elites. Men who were powerful enough to bend the rules of the Islamic Republic to enjoy the finer things in life. Art, poetry, history, Elena Rostova had spent months infiltrating this circle. She attended auctions, gave lectures on restoration techniques, and slowly built a reputation as a discreet, apolitical expert who cared only for the preservation of beauty. She was patient. Intelligence work is 90% boredom and 10% sheer terror. She waited for the invitation. It came through an intermediary, a wealthy carpet merchant named Mr. Bahrami, who acted as a procurer of rare items for the regime's elite. "There is someone who wishes to see the Vienna manuscript," Bahrami had told her over tea in a bustling bazaar, his voice low. "A man of great importance. He appreciates discretion." "I only deal with serious collectors," Elena had replied, feigning disinterest. "My time is expensive." "This collector," Bahrami smiled, a nervous twitch in his eye, "can afford anything, but he cannot travel to you. You must go to him." The vetting process began immediately. Vivac agents in Europe began tearing apart the life of Elena Rostova. They checked her university records in Florence. Mossad had planted paper files there years ago. They checked her bank accounts in Geneva, legitimate accounts funded by shell companies that had been active for a decade. They interviewed her former landlords. They looked for the gaps that every spy has in their legend. They found nothing. The legend was watertight. The reason it held was because much of it was true. Elena really was an expert in restoration. She had spent 2 years studying the craft solely for this mission. She could discuss the chemical composition of 16th century ink for hours. The best lies are wrapped in the truth. But the real test would not be the paperwork. The real test would be the man himself. Razier prided himself on his ability to read people. He claimed he could smell deception. When Elena received the coordinates for the meeting, she knew she was walking onto a stage where a single missed line meant disappearance. The meeting did not take place at the ministry. It took place at a safe house in the foothills of the Alborz Mountains, a villa that had been seized from the Shah's family decades prior. The security was heavy but discreet. Men in ill-fitting suits stood at the perimeter, their eyes tracking every movement. Elena was ushered into a library that smelled of old paper and cedarwood. The room was dimly lit, the walls lined with books. In the center of the room, standing over a large oak table, was General Razier. He was smaller than she expected. Intelligence files often fail to capture the physical presence of a man. He was slight, with graying hair and glasses that slid down his nose. He looked like a university professor, not the man who had authorized the elimination of dissidents across 3 continents. "Ms. Rostova," he said, his English accented but precise. "You are younger than I imagined for someone with your reputation." "Age is not a prerequisite for expertise, General," she replied, using his title deliberately. She knew he hadn't introduced himself as General, but she wanted to show she knew who he was and that she wasn't intimidated. It was a calculated risk. Razier paused, studying her. "You know who I am." "I know you are a man who is looking for the lost pages of the Shahnameh," she said, opening her portfolio. "And I am the woman who found them." She laid the photographs on the table. They were high-resolution images of a manuscript that Mossad forgers had spent 3 months creating. It wasn't just a forgery, it was a masterpiece. They had used period-accurate paper, ink derived from recipes found in 500-year-old texts, and calligraphic styles that matched the specific hand of a master scribe from 1540. Razier leaned in. He pulled a jeweler's loupe from his pocket and bent over the images. The room was silent for a long time. Elena watched his hands. They were steady. "The provenance?" he asked without looking up. "Recovered from a private collection in Austria. The family had it since the 1920s. They didn't know what they had until the grandfather passed away. This was a standard cover story for looted art, plausible and difficult to verify." "It is beautiful," Razier whispered. "It was the first crack in the armor. The detail on the miniatures, it is exquisite." He straightened up and looked at her. The warmth vanished from his eyes, replaced by the cold calculation of the intelligence chief. "But images are easy to fake. Digital technology can create anything." "That is why I am here," Elena said, "to arrange for the physical examination. But the item is in a vault in Zurich. It cannot be moved without insurance and guarantees." "I do not travel to Zurich," Razier said flatly. and I do not trust items that I cannot hold." "Then we have an impasse," Elena said, closing the portfolio. She made to leave. This was the psychological pivot. She had to be willing to walk away. If she seemed desperate to sell, he would suspect an operation. If she was arrogant, he would want to conquer her. "Wait," he said. She stopped. "I have a project," Razier said, walking to a bookshelf. "A restoration project here in Tehran. A manuscript that has suffered water damage. It is sensitive. I cannot trust it to local technicians who might talk about what they see." He turned to her. "If you can restore a single page of my manuscript here, under my supervision, I will believe your expertise. And then we can discuss the Vienna purchase." It was the opening she had been praying for. Access. The invitation to work on Razier's personal collection was not just a job offer, it was an interrogation. For the next 3 weeks, Elena Rostova lived under a microscope. She was moved to a guest house owned by the Vivac. Her room was bugged. She knew exactly where the microphones were, one in the lamp, one in the smoke detector. She maintained her cover even when she was alone. She read books on art history. She called her mother in France, actually a Mossad operator in Paris. She slept with the rhythmic breathing of an innocent woman. Every morning, a car collected her and drove her to the secure facility. She was stripped of all electronic devices. Her bag was X-rayed. Her chemicals and tools were tested by lab technicians to ensure they weren't explosives or poisons. Razier watched her work. He would sit in the corner of the makeshift studio they had set up, sipping tea, watching her hands as she used cotton swabs to clean centuries of grime from delicate paper. "You have steady hands," he observed one afternoon. "Restoration is like surgery," she replied, not looking up. "One mistake and the patient dies. Intelligence is the same," he said. "Except when the patient dies in my line of work, usually it is intentional." He was testing her, probing for a reaction. "I prefer the dead," Elena said. "They don't lie to you." Razier laughed. It was a dry, rasping sound. "Oh, the dead lie more than anyone, Ms. Rostova. History is a lie agreed upon by the survivors." He began to engage her in long conversations about politics, history, and philosophy. He was lonely. This is a common trait among intelligence chiefs. They can trust no one, so they have no one to talk to. Elena became a safe harbor for him. She was a foreigner, an outsider, disconnected from the internal power struggles of Tehran. She played the role of the intellectual equal. She didn't flatter him. She challenged him. When he criticized Western decadence, she parried with critiques of Eastern stagnation. She made him feel sharp. She made him feel understood. But while she charmed him, she was memorizing the layout of the building. She noted the shift changes of the guards. She counted the seconds it took for the electronic locks to engage. She observed that Razier carried a key card on a chain around his neck, but he often took it off when he was examining art, placing it on the desk next to him. The objective of Operation Glass Horizon was to infect Razier's internal computer network. The network was air-gapped, meaning it was not connected to the internet. To hack it, someone had to physically insert a drive into the terminal in his private office. The problem was that she was working in a guest room down the hall, not in his private office. She needed a reason to get inside the sanctum. The opportunity arrived in the form of a humidity crisis. Elena had been complaining for days that the climate control in the guest studio was fluctuating, endangering the manuscript she was restoring. "The fibers are expanding," she told Razier, showing him a microscopic tear. "If we don't stabilize the temperature, the ink will flake off. I cannot work in these conditions." Razier was agitated. The manuscript was his prized possession. "The facilities team is incompetent," he muttered. "Is there nowhere else?" she pressed. "A room with a dedicated climate control system? A server room, perhaps? They are usually kept cool and dry." Razier hesitated. He looked at her, then at the damaged page. His obsession with the art overrode his security protocols. It was a human error, born of passion. "My office," he said slowly. "It has an independent environmental control system for the servers. It is kept at a constant 20 degrees. Is the lighting adequate?" she asked, maintaining the professional facade. "We will bring lamps," he said. "Pack your tools. You will finish the work in my office." Elena nodded, hiding the surge of adrenaline that flooded her system. She was in. Razier's private office was exactly as intelligence reports had described, but seeing it in person was different. It was windowless. One wall was dominated by monitors showing CCTV feeds from across the city. The other wall held the safe, and on his massive mahogany desk sat the computer terminal, the black box. This terminal held the roster of Iranian agents operating in Europe. It held the financial conduits for Hezbollah. It held the nuclear timelines. She set up her workspace on a table near the desk. Razier stayed in the room, working at his terminal while she cleaned the manuscript. The silence was heavy. She needed him to leave the room, just for a minute. She had a device. It wasn't a USB stick. That would be too obvious. It was concealed inside the handle of her scalpel, a modified connector that could be jammed into a port and snapped off, leaving a microscopic receiver that would bridge the air gap, allowing a drone flying at high altitude to ping the system and extract the data packets. But Razier was a statue. He didn't move. He didn't take breaks. She needed a distraction. "General," Elena said, her voice trembling slightly. She dropped a vial of solvent. It shattered on the floor, the smell of acetone filling the room instantly. Razier jumped up. "What happened?" "I'm so clumsy," she said, crouching down, picking up the glass. "The fumes. It's strong. We need to ventilate." Razier frowned. The ventilation system was sealed against chemical attacks. "I cannot open the door. The security seal. It's acetone," she said, coughing. "It will damage the manuscript if it lingers. The vapor eats the ink." This was a lie, but a plausible one to a layman. Razier looked at the manuscript, then at the spreading puddle. He hit a button on his intercom. "Send a cleaning crew. Immediately. Chemical spill." "I need water," she gasped, playing up the distress. "My eyes." Razier looked at her. He saw a woman in pain, a woman he had come to respect, a civilian. He dropped his guard. "There is a washroom down the hall," he said. "Go." "I can't see," she said, covering her eyes. Razier sighed, frustrated. He walked around the desk. "Come, I will guide you." He took her arm and led her toward the door. This was it, the moment. But it was wrong. If she left the room, she couldn't plant the device. She needed him to leave or turn his back for long enough. She stumbled, deliberately falling against him. He caught her. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I just need to sit for a moment. Please get me a glass of water." Razier looked at the door, then at the water cooler in the corner of the room. It was too close. He wouldn't be distracted long enough. Then the intercom buzzed. "General, the cleaning crew is at the checkpoint. They need authorization." "I'm coming," he snapped. He looked at Elena. "Stay here. Do not touch anything." He walked to the heavy steel door, punched in a code, and stepped out into the corridor to yell at the guards. The door began to swing shut on its hydraulic arm. Elena moved. She didn't run. She glided. She was across the room in 2 strides. She reached the terminal. She didn't look for a USB port on the front. They were disabled. She reached behind the tower, feeling for the service port used by technicians. Her fingers found it. She unscrewed the base of her scalpel, revealing the connector. She jammed it in. It clicked. She snapped the handle, leaving the small black nub flush with the casing. She was back at her table before the door fully closed. When Razier returned 10 seconds later, she was sitting on the floor, dabbing her eyes with a handkerchief, her breathing shallow. "They are coming," he said, looking suspicious. He scanned the room. Everything looked untouched. The computer screen was asleep. The manuscript was safe. "Thank you," she said. "I think the worst is over." She had done it. The seed was planted. Now she just had to survive the harvest. The next few days were a blur of tension. The device was active, but the data exfiltration was slow to avoid detection by the system's automated defenses. Every byte had to be masked as system noise. Elena continued her work, but Razier's demeanor had shifted. He was quieter. He watched her more closely. Had she been too clumsy? Did he suspect the accident was staged? One evening, he poured 2 cups of tea. "You know," he said, stirring the sugar, "we caught a spy last week. A man working for the British. He was a teacher. Very well respected." Elena's blood ran cold. "That is terrible." "He thought he was clever," Razier continued. He thought because he taught poetry, we would not look at him, but we look at everyone. He placed the tea in front of her. "Why do you restore art, Elena?" he asked suddenly. "Really?" "Because the past is the only thing we can save," she recited the line from her legend. "The future is out of our hands." Razier stared at her. "I have enjoyed our time. You have a good mind. It is a pity." "A pity? That you must leave soon? The restoration is almost done." Elena exhaled internally. He didn't know. He was just being melancholic. "Yes," she said. "I must return to Zurich. My clients are waiting." "I will miss our conversations," he said. And in that moment, she realized the most dangerous thing of all. He liked her, perhaps too much. A man in love, or even in infatuation, is unpredictable. 2 days before her scheduled departure, disaster struck. Not from Razier, but from the technology. The device she had planted triggered a low-level diagnostic alert on the server. It wasn't a full alarm, but a hardware anomaly notification. Elena was in the guest house when her handler, communicating through a coded burst transmission on a secure radio disguised as an e-reader, sent the message: "Abort. System alert. Get out now." She couldn't just run. If she ran, they would know immediately. They would lock down the city. She had to leave normally. But if Razier checked the alert, he would find the device. She had to go back to the office one last time to retrieve it or disable it before the IT team did their weekly sweep. She called Razier's office. "General, I have made a terrible realization," she said, injecting panic into her voice. "The solvent I spilled. I checked the chemical manifest. It reacts with the specific binding glue of your manuscript. The damage won't show for days, but it will be catastrophic. I need to apply a neutralizing agent immediately." It was a gamble. She was relying on his panic. "Come immediately," he ordered. When she arrived, the atmosphere was different. There were more guards. Technicians were moving through the halls. The diagnostic alert had clearly triggered a review. Razier was in his office, looking at the computer screen with a frown. A technician was typing on a keyboard next to him. "General," Elena said, bursting in. "The manuscript." "Wait," Razier held up a hand. "We have a system error. The technician says there is a foreign voltage on the motherboard." Elena felt the floor drop away. They were seconds away from finding it. She walked over to the manuscript, ignoring them. "Look," she pointed to a non-existent discoloration. "It's starting." Razier looked at the technician. "How long?" "I need to open the casing, General," the technician said. "Do it," Razier ordered. "General," Elena said, her voice sharp, "if I don't treat this now, the page will disintegrate. I need the room stabilized. No movement, no dust. You must stop him opening that machine. The dust fans will destroy the wet ink." It was the most ridiculous lie she had told yet. Computers don't generate that much dust. But she was banking on his ignorance of hardware and his obsession with the paper. Razier froze. He looked at the technician who had a screwdriver in hand. He looked at the dying manuscript. "Stop," Razier barked at the technician. "Get out. Do not kick up dust." "But General, the security protocol." "I said get out. The history of Persia is more important than a glitch in your Windows system." The technician hesitated, then packed his tools and left. Razier turned to Elena. "Fix it." She didn't remove the device. She couldn't. It was too risky to reach back there while he watched. Instead, she used a small electromagnetic pulse generator concealed in her watch. A piece of tech straight out of Q Branch, but real. As she leaned over the manuscript, she activated the watch. It sent a localized short-range spike. The computer monitor flickered and died. The hard drive groaned and stopped. "What happened?" Razier asked. "I don't know," she said, not looking up. "Power surge." By frying the port, she had destroyed the evidence of the device and the device itself. It would look like a hardware failure, a burnt-out motherboard. The data they had already stolen was safe in Israel. The link was broken, but the evidence was gone. "This building," Razier muttered, cursing. "Nothing works." She finished her treatment of the manuscript. "It is safe now," she said. "But it needs to rest, and so do I." "You leave tomorrow," Razier said. "Yes." He looked at her, a strange sadness in his eyes. I will have my driver take you to the airport. VIP processing. You will not be searched. It was his final gift, and it was her ticket out. The drive to Imam Khomeini International Airport was the longest hour of her life. She expected the car to turn around at any moment. She expected a roadblock. She expected the phone to ring. The burnt-out computer would be analyzed. Eventually, forensic hardware experts might find the fused remains of the connector, but it would take days. She only had hours. Razier's driver was silent. The city rolled past, a gray blur. When they arrived at the airport, the VIP escort was waiting. They bypassed the long lines. They bypassed the passport control officers who scrutinized Westerners. Razier's stamp of approval was like a golden ticket. She boarded the Lufthansa flight to Frankfurt. She sat in seat 3A. She didn't drink the champagne. She stared at the door. Only when the wheels lifted off the runway, when the plane banked over the mountains, did she allow herself to exhale. Back in Tel Aviv, the analysts were already decoding the data packets that had been transmitted before the surge. It was a goldmine. The entire roster of Vivac's European sleeper cells, the financial structure of the Quds Force's external operations. But in Tehran, General Razier was staring at a blank screen. The new computer had arrived. The old one was in a lab. The report came to his desk 3 days later. Subject: hardware failure analysis. Findings: foreign object detected in service port 3. Severe charring indicates deliberate electromagnetic overload. Razier read the report twice. He put it down. He looked at the manuscript sitting in its glass case. The page she had restored was perfect. He walked to the window and looked out at the smog of Tehran. He replayed every conversation, every spilled vial, every moment of vulnerability. He realized then that the woman he had admired, the woman he had let into his sanctuary, had played him like an instrument. She hadn't just fooled him, she had weaponized his own vanity against him. He sat down. He didn't call security. He didn't order a manhunt. It was too late. And more importantly, to admit that he, the Grandmaster, had been duped by a woman in his own office, that would be the end of his career, perhaps his life. He took the report. He walked to the shredder, and he destroyed it. He would claim it was a simple short circuit. He would protect his own failure. In doing so, he became an unwitting accomplice to the Mossad. He covered their tracks to save his own skin. Elena Rostova ceased to exist the moment she landed in Frankfurt. Kestrel returned to the shadows. She never went back to the field. The risk was too high. She became a trainer at the academy, teaching the next generation the art of human hacking. The intelligence garnered from Operation Glass Horizon dismantled 3 terror networks in Europe and froze millions of dollars in illicit funds. It set the Iranian intelligence apparatus back by years. General Razier remained in power for another 5 years, but he was a changed man. He became paranoid, reclusive. He stopped collecting art. He knew that the beauty he loved had been the Trojan horse that breached his walls. In the world of intelligence, there are no clean victories. There is only the survival of the fittest. And on that day, in a quiet office in Tehran, a woman with a steady hand and a fake name proved that the most dangerous weapon is not a gun, but the human mind. Conclusion: if this story of high-stakes deception and psychological warfare kept you on the edge of your seat, hit that like button. Share this video with someone who thinks they understand how the world works. And tell us in the comments, do you think Razier knew, deep down, that he was being played, or was his ego truly his blind spot? Subscribe for more declassified histories. The shadows are deep, and we have many more stories to tell. Stay curious.